Hey, Jeff here with Ontario Stipple Removal. Get a lot of questions about the Planex. Now we've got two different versions. We've got a couple of the Planex Classics, and then we've got a Planex Easy, which is a newer edition. So we get a lot of questions saying like, well, what's the difference? First, the big difference, price. It's fairly cheap compared with the Classic. The Classic is for Canadian price, it's about just under 2,000, and this is just over 1,000. So there's about an $800 difference. So what are you losing for that price difference? Well, they both have the same sanding size, but a lot of it has to do with how they're set up. So the Easy has a direct drive motor. It's directly hooked up to the sanding pad, where the Classic runs the motor on the back. This is a much more powerful motor than direct drive. Direct drive is nice because it's quiet, but it just lacks the same power that the original version of the Planex had. But it comes at a cost. With this, as you see, when you're working directly on a ceiling, it has some resistance, so it's harder to use when on a flat surface. The Easy works on that angle a lot easier. It seems to be more forgiving when working on ceilings. You'll also notice the Easy is in a fixed length, where the standard Planex has a separator. This is a plus and a negative. The plus is that you can shorten this up, and when it's shorter, it's easier to use on walls or if you're working close to the ceilings. With the Easy, it's a fixed length, so you're dealing with that length no matter what. So sometimes when you're dealing in a tight space, it can be a drag. You can also add links onto the Classic. So in a case like this where you got a high ceiling, you can actually reach it in some cases, although it is quite a stretch and harder to use when you have multiple links on here. The Classic, also you notice the difference up here, has 2 points of extraction. The main area, which is the center, and there's also a port right here around the edge. So you can actually do suction from around the edge or in the center, depending upon what you're taking off. Or, as you can see, like here, we wedge it halfway through, so it does equal portions of the center and the edge. So it'll extract from there, and it'll extract from there. The Easy does not have that option. It does the extraction on the center, and that's it. So it can become overwhelmed if you're pushing a large amount of dust, or if you're doing a popcorn ceiling removal, it's sometimes going to have a hard time handling with it. As you notice on the control end here, the Classic has your speed control, on-off switch, and then there's this, which sets it for suction. So you can reduce or increase the suction length on here. The Easy only has a speed setting. Now, in my opinion, it's my opinion only, that's not a big deal. I usually run this full suction no matter what. You also got to remember on your dust extractors, you can run suction as well too. You can adjust the suction. So it's kind of redundant. It's a little bit easier if if you're not as experienced with it and you want to reduce the swirl marks on there, because sometimes when they do have a lot of suction, it will create swirl marks. But once you get used to it, the less and less that becomes an issue. So the main difference is, again, fixed length, multiple lengths, so you're more adjustable for lengths. This comes in a hard case, this comes in a soft bag. I would say the main difference is this has a lot of less of a learning curve on it. It's generally what the name calls it. It's easy to use. You take it out of the bag, it just runs. The Classic has a little bit more of a learning curve to it. It's a beast, and it'll take you for a ride if you don't respect it properly. So it does have a little bit more of a learning curve. So if you have an employee that's new in the job or whatever, you can give them one of these and it's hard to really mess it up. You can really mess up a service if you're not used to the Planex, the regular Planex. It does have a learning curve. It's a lot more powerful. For what we use it for popcorn ceiling removal, we use this strictly for just final sanding. I don't really use it for popcorn ceiling removal. Not that it can't do it, but you can bog this thing out with heavy popcorn or painted popcorn. So we don't use it for that purpose. I don't want to tax it. So we just use it for the final sanding. It's significantly lighter, This is 8 pounds, this is 10 pounds. That 2 pounds of weight makes a difference. And it's a lot easier to use as far as handling than the Classic. Classic is a little bit heavier duty if you want to think of it that way. So, there you go. That's kind of the difference between the basic breakdown of the two. If you're looking for just kind of an all-round sander you're going to use occasionally, the Easy is an awesome thing to do. If you're doing primarily popcorn seal removal and a lot of it, then you may want to look at the Classic, because there's just some surfaces that the Easy just will not be able to take off. So hopefully that makes things a little bit more clear.